I thought I was done, not just tired or aging, but finished as a man. No sensation in my legs when I woke up, no spark in my marriage, no fire in my body. At 68, I thought I'd simply faded into the background, alive, but no longer fully living. And worst of all, I told myself that was normal. If you've ever felt like that, like you're slowly vanishing from your own life, this story is for you. Because what brought me back didn't come from a pill bottle or a clinic. It came from something so simple, I almost missed it. My recovery began in the kitchen, specifically with what I chose to eat within the first hour of waking up. If you're a man over 60 who still wants to wake up with energy, strength, and the quiet confidence that says, "I'm still here," stay with me through this story. And if you see even a piece of yourself in what I'm saying, drop a quick "me" in the comments. It tells me you haven't given up yet. My name is Franklin Cooper. I'm a retired electrical engineer from Oregon, and for a long time, I was quietly slipping away. Let me take you back to that Monday morning. It was raining again, light drizzle on the window panes. I sat on the edge of my bed, rubbing my numb calves, staring down at my feet like they were someone else's. My wife, Linda, was already in the kitchen. I heard the clink of mugs, the faint pop of the toaster. Our mornings had become a careful routine. I'd shuffle in, mumble a morning, and sit quietly while she placed the same breakfast in front of me. Toast, coffee, maybe some jam, always the same, always empty. That morning, I looked down at the toast, then up at her face, still kind, but tired. She smiled faintly, kissed my head, and handed me the same mug she always did. And for some reason, something inside me cracked. Not loudly, just... Finally, I remember thinking, when did I become invisible in my own home? When did I stop being her man and start being just a man at her table? Later that day, I visited an old friend, Howard, 69, a retired firefighter. I hadn't seen him in a while, and I was stunned. He looked strong, eyes sharp, posture solid. I asked him straight up, "You on TRT or something?" He laughed. "Nope, I just stopped eating like I wanted to disappear." I blinked. What does that even mean? He leaned in and said something I didn't expect. "It's the first hour, Frank, right after you wake up. That's when you either feed your blood or starve your body." I thought he was joking, but Howard never jokes about health. He showed me photos of his breakfasts, simple stuff: eggs, oats, a bowl of something orange and steamed. "Start tomorrow," he said. "No toast, no black coffee on an empty stomach. Give your blood a reason to move again." I didn't believe him. But the next morning, I boiled 2 eggs, ate them slowly, quietly, with a little sea salt. Linda raised an eyebrow. "No toast today?" "Nope," I said. "Just trying something." Day 2, I added oats. Day 3, a few slices of watermelon. Day 5, something happened. I stood up out of bed without groaning. My legs weren't heavy, my toes weren't cold, and that morning, as Linda passed me in the hallway, I kissed her neck without thinking. She turned, surprised, and smiled in a way I hadn't seen in a long, long time. Look, I didn't transform overnight, but something inside me had shifted, and it all began with breakfast. What Howard told me was true. Your first hour awake sets the tone for everything that follows. That's when your blood vessels are most responsive. Your nerves are waking up. Your muscles are begging for fuel. For years, I'd been starting my day with sugar, caffeine, and empty carbs, basically shutting down the very systems I needed to to feel alive. But once I gave my body the right fuel, simple, age-appropriate, blood-friendly food, my body responded. And in part 2, I'll tell you exactly what I ate, why it worked, and how it brought me back from the edge. Because if you think it's too late, I'm here to tell you it's not even close. I know what you're wondering. So what did you actually eat, Frank? What made the difference? And I get it. I used to roll my eyes whenever someone said food could change your life. But after what I felt that first week, lighter legs, warm feet, a sudden kiss to my wife's neck, without even thinking, I couldn't deny it anymore. So I paid attention. I stopped eating like an old man, waiting to get older. And I started feeding myself like someone who still had something left to live for. What I'm about to share isn't magic. It's not fancy either. No powders, no pills, no $20 protein bars. Just 5 simple foods, real, everyday things that helped bring blood back to the places I hadn't felt in years. 1. Whole eggs, my morning muscle builder. Let's start with the simplest one. I used to skip breakfast entirely or just have toast and coffee. That was starving my body. Turns out, 2 whole eggs, yolks included, gave me more than protein. They gave me power. Whole eggs are packed with vitamin D, choline, B12, and something called leucine. I didn't know what that last one was, but I looked it up. It helps your muscles repair, especially the pelvic floor muscles, the ones that keep you stable when you walk and support, well, everything down there. After a week of having 2 boiled eggs every morning, I could feel something was reawakening. Not dramatic, just firmer, steadier, like my foundation was coming back online. 2. Oats with chia seeds, cleaning the pipes. The second game changer. Real oats, not the instant kind with sugar. I started making a small bowl of warm oats and topping it with chia seeds. Howard told me chia seeds were full of omega-3s, magnesium, and potassium, things that relaxed blood vessels and reduced inflammation. I didn't know any of that, but I knew this. After a few days, my hands weren't cold anymore. After a week, my feet felt alive again. After 2 weeks, well, let's just say mornings weren't so quiet anymore. That little bowl helped clean out my arteries, push blood to where it needed to go, and gave me energy that didn't crash by 10 a.m. 3. Watermelon, nature's little blue pill. I used to think watermelon was just a summertime treat. Then I learned it has something called L-citrulline, which turns into L-arginine in your body, a fancy way of saying it boosts nitric oxide, the same thing that medications like Viagra target. But this isn't a drug, it's fruit. And the trick? Eat it in the morning, especially on an empty stomach. Howard told me not to throw out the white rind either. That's where the good stuff is. So I blended chunks of watermelon, rind and all, into a smoothie. Within a few days, I noticed something strange. I was waking up differently, like parts of me were stretching, yawning, coming back to life. I didn't say anything to Linda at first, but she noticed. 4. Steamed sweet potato with Celtic salt. My morning grounding. This one sounded odd when I first heard it, but Howard swore by it. Half a sweet potato, steamed. Sprinkle a pinch of Celtic salt. Eat it before anything else. I thought he was messing with me. Then he explained, sweet potatoes give your muscles clean fuel. No sugar crash, just slow-burning energy. And Celtic salt, not regular table salt, has over 80 minerals your nerves and blood vessels need. So I tried it. Within days, I was standing up from the toilet without needing to grab the sink. My morning stiffness, in my legs was gone. And I felt steady, rooted, like gravity had stopped pulling me down. 5. The golden hour habit. This last one isn't a food, it's a rule. Howard called it the golden hour. It means this: whatever you feed your body in the first 60 minutes after waking shapes your whole day. I used to skip breakfast or go straight for sugar and coffee. That left me foggy, cold, and dragging. Now, I wake up, drink a glass of warm water, and choose one of the 4 foods above. Not all at once, just one. Maybe eggs, maybe watermelon, maybe oats with chia. And some days, I go with that weird little sweet potato and salt combo. And you know what? It works, because I'm no longer eating out of habit. I'm eating with intention. In part 3, I'll tell you exactly what changed in my relationship, my sleep, and my mornings with Linda. Because this didn't just wake up my body, it woke up my life. So stay with me. The best part is still coming. You know that moment when you start to feel present again? It's subtle. A flicker at first. You're standing in the bathroom, brushing your teeth, and for some reason, your shoulders aren't slumped. Your eyes look clearer in the mirror. Your body feels upright. You can feel your feet on the ground. That was the first sign I was coming back. And let me say this right now. If any part of this story speaks to you, leave a comment below. Tell me you're here. You never know who might read it and feel less alone. That's how this all started for me. The changes didn't come all at once. After 2 weeks of sticking to my morning food routine, I noticed these small things first. I stopped napping in the chair before lunch. I had enough energy to rake leaves without stopping every 10 minutes. But it wasn't just physical. One morning, Linda asked, "You've been humming lately, did you know that?" I hadn't. I'd forgotten what it felt like to just exist in your own skin without dread. To move through the house with ease, to not feel heavy, and maybe the biggest shift of all, mornings with Linda started feeling lighter, closer. We weren't suddenly 30 again, jumping into each other's arms like teenagers. That's not what I'm saying. But we were lingering longer in the kitchen, talking more. Sometimes I'd reach for her hand without thinking, and she'd let it stay. Something had changed, and we both knew it. Let me pause for a second and say this. If you've made it this far in the story, you're already different than most, because you care. You want something better. You're not numbing out in front of the TV or blaming the world. You're here, reading, hoping. So let me ask, have you hit that subscribe button yet? Have you commented? I'm not just saying it to boost a channel. I'm saying it because men like us need to find each other. We need stories like this because nobody else is telling them. Back to Linda. About 3 weeks into my new routine, I woke up before the alarm. That hadn't happened in years. Not only was I awake, I was alert. I felt warm in my fingers and toes. I didn't reach for the edge of the bed or brace myself on the nightstand. I just stood up. I walked to the kitchen and made breakfast for both of us. Scrambled eggs, chia oatmeal, coffee with cinnamon. Nothing fancy. But when I placed the plate in front of her, Linda looked at me like I'd just come back from the dead. "Who are you?" she laughed. And I said something I hadn't even realized until it left my mouth. "I think I'm coming back." That morning, we sat at the table, eating slowly, windows open. The house felt warmer somehow. Not from the heater, from us. And that's when I realized, this whole time, I thought I'd been losing my health. But what I'd really been losing was connection. Connection to my body, to my partner, to the man I used to be. That connection was never gone. It was just sleeping. And every morning, one bowl of food at a time, it started waking up. I won't pretend Everything was perfect after that. There were days I slipped, ate something processed, skipped the sweet potato, stayed up too late. But here's the difference. Now, I noticed, I could feel the impact of every choice I made. That awareness alone, it gave me power. And when you start making choices that serve your energy, your circulation, your presence, everything starts lining up. You don't just feel better, you feel like yourself again. Now let me speak to the part of you that might still be doubtful. You might be thinking, good for you, Frank, but I've tried things. I've failed, I've aged, it's too late. Let me be clear. I'm 68. I had numb legs, cold feet, no drive, and a marriage that was coasting on polite routines. I was as good as gone, but I made one decision, not a huge one, not a dramatic one. Just one simple, quiet choice to feed myself differently for 30 days. And that one decision, it changed everything. So now, I want to ask you, will you make the same choice? Will you get up tomorrow and eat like your circulation matters? Will you choose to begin again? Because the truth is, food is not just fuel. It's a message. Every bite says something to your body. Wake up. Keep going. You're still in the game. If you're still reading, I want to invite you to leave one comment below. Just type, "I'm not done." That's all. Say it for yourself. Say it for someone else who needs to see it. Say it because men like us deserve to feel strong again. In part 4, I'll walk you through what I learned about sleep, hormone balance, and how I stopped waking up at 3 a.m. with that hollow feeling in my chest. But more importantly, I'll share what kept me consistent, even when the motivation faded. Because let's be honest, motivation always fades, but commitment, that's something different. So don't miss what's next. The most important part of this journey is still ahead. And if nobody's told you lately, you're not too old, you're not too late, and you're not alone. 3:12 a.m. That number used to haunt me. Not 3 o'clock, not 4 o'clock, 3:12, like clockwork. I'd roll over, open my eyes, and see that faint red glow from the alarm clock. The room quiet, the air still, my body awake, but not alive. It wasn't pain that woke me up. It was something else, a kind of emptiness. Not the kind you can point to, but the kind that settles in your chest and just sits there. I didn't always wake up like this. Years ago, I used to sleep through the night like a log. But sometime in my 60s, something shifted. My mind got noisier just as my body started slowing down. And the worst part? I stopped talking about it. I'd just lie there, staring at the ceiling, wondering if other men felt this way too. If they were also waking up to the sound of their own thoughts. If they were counting the years they had left instead of the dreams they still carried. But I never asked, and no one ever told me. Until I mentioned it to Howard one morning. I told him I was waking up around 3 a.m. most nights and couldn't fall back asleep. That it made me feel useless, old, lost. He didn't laugh, he just nodded. "Frank," he said, "you're not broken. You're just out of rhythm." I blinked. "Out of rhythm?" "Yeah," he said. "Your body's not getting what it needs before bed, and your mind's not letting go of what it's holding during the day." That stuck with me. I thought I had a sleep problem. Turns out I had a rhythm problem. So I made 2 small changes. One physical, one mental. Neither of them was dramatic, but together they changed my nights. The physical part, I changed how I ended my day. Instead of staying up late on my phone or falling asleep in front of the TV, I started doing something embarrassingly simple. I made myself a mug of warm chamomile tea. No sugar, just tea. And I paired it with a piece of fruit, usually a banana or a few slices of apple, with a spoon of almond butter. Not because it was fancy, but because I learned that a small, steady dose of potassium and magnesium before bed helps calm the nervous system. I also stopped eating dinner late. No more heavy meals at 8 or 9 p.m. If I was hungry after 7, I'd have a little soup or a boiled egg. That's it. Within 3 nights, I stopped waking up at 3:12. I still woke up occasionally, but it was different. I wasn't startled, I wasn't sweating or staring into the void. My body just rested. The mental part, I started doing what I call night clearing. This one felt weird at first, but it worked even better than the tea. Before going to bed, I'd take 5 minutes, just 5, and write down every thought that was circling in my head. Worries, regrets, tasks I hadn't done, conversations I wished went differently. I didn't write full sentences, just words. Just enough to put the noise somewhere else. It was like giving my brain permission to stop holding everything. And the first night I did it, I slept 6 hours straight for the first time in months. Now, I'm not saying this will fix everything for everyone, but here's what I am saying. If you keep waking up at 3 a.m. feeling like something's wrong, you're not crazy, you're not weak, you're not alone. You're just being spoken to by your body, by your nervous system, maybe even by your heart. And it's asking for rhythm, not medication, not noise, just rhythm. A signal that says, you're safe now, you've done enough. Let go. And that brings me to the truth I'd been avoiding for a long time. Most of what I thought was aging was actually imbalance. My food was off, my sleep was erratic, my thoughts were loud, and my body, poor thing, was just doing its best to keep up. Once I started honoring that, everything began to shift. Not dramatically, but gently, like a tide returning. In part 5, I'll tell you the single belief that almost kept me stuck and how I finally broke through it. It has nothing to do with food or exercise, and everything to do with how we, as men, think about value, purpose, and intimacy after 60. It's the part of the story most guys are too embarrassed to talk about, but it's the part that changed me the most. So if you've come this far with me, stick around. The heart of the journey is just ahead. There was one thought I carried for years. It didn't come from a doctor. It wasn't something anyone ever said to my face, but it was there, quiet, heavy. Like a stone in my pocket. Maybe I just don't matter anymore. I never said it out loud, but I felt it. When Linda and I sat in silence at dinner, when I walked into a room and no one looked up, when the kids stopped calling as often and the grandkids only came around on holidays, I began to wonder if the best of me had already been spent. No one tells you that growing older doesn't just change your body, it shakes your sense of worth. When you're young, you have roles, purpose. People depend on you, but after retirement, after the kids move out, after you've stopped being needed, what then? Who are you when you're no longer the provider, the protector, the strong one? For a long time, I didn't have an answer. Then something happened. It wasn't dramatic, just honest. One afternoon, I was sitting in the backyard, watching the trees sway. Linda came out, sat beside me, and after a while, she said, "You seem lighter lately." I shrugged. "I guess I feel more like myself." She looked at me and said something I'll never forget. I missed him. That hit me hard, because it meant I hadn't been myself for a while, and I hadn't even realized it. That night, I lay in bed thinking, not about symptoms or supplements or schedules, but about how easily we, as men, disappear from our own lives. We stop checking in with ourselves. We stop asking what we need, what we feel, what we dream. We focus on being useful, strong, reliable, until we're no longer asked for those things. And we're left standing in the quiet, wondering who we are without them. Here's what I've learned. Aging doesn't strip away your value. It reveals where you've been hiding it. And the lie, the one that kept me stuck, was thinking that my worth was tied to what I could do. But the truth is, my worth is in who I am. A man who still wakes up with a heart that beats, with hands that can hold, with words that can heal, with a story that still matters. You see, all the foods I ate, the morning routines, the better sleep, they were never the real point. They were the bridge back to me. And when I crossed that bridge, I realized something powerful. The man I thought was gone was just waiting for me to return. These days, my energy's not perfect. Some mornings are better than others. But now I show up for myself, for Linda, for the life we still get to live. I take my time. I listen more. I hold her hand like it still means something, because it does. I speak up when something feels off. I stretch, I laugh more. And most of all, I believe this. It's not too late to come home to yourself. So if you've made it to the end of this story, let me say this. Thank you, not just for listening, but for caring, for believing that your next chapter can be better than your last. If there's one thing I want you to remember, it's this. You are not done. You are not broken. And you are definitely not invisible. You are a man, still breathing, still here, still worthy. And if I could come back, so can you.